And our vision is to basically follow this chain of next integrations and data sources that all point towards prevention and longevity. So we are very keen to integrate DNA testing. There's so much information in our DNA that can be leveraged, where we can early on prevent and work against certain kind of risk factors a person has, etc.
Hello and welcome to the Augmented Self, the podcast where we explore the intricate world of wearable technology and its incredible impact on health and wellness. I'm your host, Jean-Philippe DIEL, on this journey into the fascinating intersection of tech, health, and the human body. Each time we delve into thought-provoking discussions with industry professionals, innovators, and thought leaders in the wearable tech space. We'll explore cutting-edge advancements, AI application, examine the efficiency of metrics, and tackle the ever-important issue of data privacy. We're here not just to learn, but also to foster a community of tech enthusiasts, wellness advocates, and curious minds. So whether this is your first episode or you're a regular listener, we want to hear from you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on this episode. Your feedback shapes our conversation in this rapidly evolving field. Today I have the pleasure to host Jonas from ROOK. Jonas Dücker. How are you, Jonas?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here. Thanks, Jean-Philippe.
So you're Jonas, you're the COO of ROOK. That's Chief Operating Officer.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
So perhaps to give our viewers a bit of an introduction, we can do one of those warm-up quiz. Let's talk about how we first met, for example.
I think first time we met was thanks to the FitTech Club. I think it was in one of the virtual events that we first had the chance to exchange some ideas, to network a little bit. And I think the last time actually that we saw each other, and correct me if I'm mistaken, that was in June in Munich.
That's right.
At the FitTech Summit. Yeah.
What a great event.
That was a good event.
Yeah, what a great event. I really enjoy being part of the FitTech Club. It's for those who don't know, you can check it up online at the FitTech Club. It's a sort of peer group of fitness professionals and the tech industry businesses. So I find it really interesting in terms of, it's like a non-compete environment. It's about, understanding what others are working on and sort of networking and understanding the market a bit better. So personally, I find it very valuable. How about you?
Yeah, super great experience. With a lot of great people thanks to the FitTech Club, one of them being you. So yeah, and I think it's very aligned to the idea of this podcast of like building community of like-minded people and pushing this forward. So yeah, super great.
Cool. How long have you been working on this project, ROOK? It was called ROOK Motion before, and then you just rebranded last year. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. We've been working on ROOK Motion previously for 3-4 years already. And yeah, it's branded now as ROOK since a little bit more than a year basically a year. And I can share a bit more. So generally speaking, we started off with a different business model. We were very deep down in the tech space, doing live real-time heart rate tracking, similar to the MyZone Air Siri experience. So big screen, and we see heart rate zones and intensity zones in real time. Mm-hmm. And then, changed a little bit the business model further down the road.
The good old pivot and all these founder workshop, they tell you how you will find product market fit and you will pivot. I'm scared to figure out where I need to pivot because we haven't done that yet. So at this stage, we're still in the la land of thinking that we've got the best idea and confronting ourselves to the market. Now, probably a last question in this warm-up quiz that I want to have is, let's reveal something that you don't know about me or I don't know about you. You start.
Oh, interesting. I think something you don't know about me is I lived in the middle of the Indian Ocean for some time on Reunion Island. That was one of those exciting phases in my life.
It's a French place.
It's a French place, yeah. Basically French colony in the Indian Ocean, close to Mauritius, lived there for some time. Very exciting, totally different kind of career path. I wasn't involved at all in startups or like the fitness or health tech space.
What were you doing?
I think we all have this parallel life.
Scuba diving?
diving, surfing, and focus on tourism rather than the startup.
Excellent. Sounds exciting.
Yeah. What about you? Tell me something new.
Something that you don't know about me potentially. I started my career selling beer.
Oh wow! I mean, that's very like me being German, right? Like that.
Yep. See, so I kind of have this funny way to talk about this career path, which is a bit eclectic, I guess. I started my career getting people drunk, and then after that, I worked in the mobile phone industry and trying to fry their brains, and now I'm kind of trying to make it up, working on health and fitness. So try to redeem myself a little bit. But yeah,
closing the loop here for sure. Yeah,
quite an interesting, I think, foundation school, the beverage or sort of brewery industry. I wasn't working in the supermarket channel type of things, but more in the what we call the HoReCa channels, which is hotel, restaurant, and catering. It's really the counter drinking 7 customers a day and all the sort of small business owners, and that really taught me about relationship building, and it taught me another thing which I feel applies today in terms of marketing and sort of growing your business. It taught me about, we used to call it painting the town green, green being the color of Heineken. Trying to convince, you got the street with 20 bars, then, and how do you convince them to shift, and they all look at each other. And so it's all about like making some sort of ambassador model, take one, you build with him and or her and grow that business. And then the next door neighbor is always a bit jealous about what's happening next door. We'll go, well, hang on, how does he do it? And why am I not getting that? And then suddenly you kind of cross-pollinate, and then you grow little sort of organic pods in your town, and then very, very quickly you suddenly paint the whole town green. I applied that in Samsung, painted the whole town blue or the whole country blue when I worked in Samsung New Zealand. And I kind of kept that mental model in today, thinking about how to grow our business and things like that. It's not something that scares me, because I kind of know how to work with ambassadors and sort of start getting a little node growing and cross-pollinate from there.
I think that's a good kind of way to translate that into different painting blue, painting green. What's the color today? What's the new color for you now?
I don't know.
Still to be decided.
I kind of couldn't choose. SymbionIQ Lab's got a bit of the whole rainbow there. So yeah, I don't know. Okay, awesome. Let's dive into ROOK, because I'm fascinated about what you guys are doing. I think you've got a really interesting approach and very needed approach around data. Could you give me an overview first of what is ROOK? And what mission do you want to fulfill in the wearable sort of quantified self space?
Yeah, I kind of start the other way around. I will start a little bit with the mission, and then I will tell a bit more about what we do at ROOK. Generally speaking, we are firm believers in medicine 3.0, so prevention instead of reaction. So not reacting when it's too late, but actually preventing people from getting sick, preventing that the condition is worsening, etc. And we believe that there's huge potential in what we call alternative data sources that today, in today's medicine, are not used that much. For example, wearables. But not only wearables, right? Like there's DNA testing, there is glucose monitors, continuous glucose monitors. There's so many different data sources that we can consider kind of alternative data sources that we want to plug in and extract information from, and then help companies, and mainly digital health space or the healthcare space, to leverage and build products that actually help prevent or manage certain kind of conditions from preventing them from getting worse. So what we do at ROOK today is we are a wearable API. Basically, it helps any company in the digital health space to become wearable agnostic. These companies face huge challenges to having to integrate Apple Watch, Garmin, Aura, Polar, all these different brands one by one.
So many.
And with ROOK, it's one single integration. Yeah. And then you get the full range of devices integrated into your app. And now your users can sync the data, and you can start working that data and build great use cases around that wearable data that we can collect.
I'm a big proponent of that. Big proponent of that, and of course, you'll be familiar with Peter Attia's book Outlive.
Yes.
My Bible on the side of my bed right now.
Yes.
And so much that, that needs to be done in that space. We have the potential of collecting all this data. People are monitoring themselves 24/7. And that could be groundbreaking, sort of not crowdfunding, but crowdsourcing all this data out there, and they could detect things early but it's still in the infancy, isn't it?
It's still a space which is, I think, a little bit overseen to some degree, especially as more we go into the traditional healthcare sector. But I think it's kind of upcoming. So it's like there's good timing around this. We have seen throughout the pandemic a huge adoption of wearables in the wider audience. So we have a lot of users that currently use at least one device, or some even up to 2 devices. We have more and more data available. And at the same time, the FDA did some very interesting things around accepting that wearable data can be used as a medical record, etc. And all these kind of small changes have boosted a lot now, like the adoption and companies seeking to use that data in many different ways, from insurance to clinical trials to digital health space. And then obviously wellness and fitness, we have seen that before, right? Wellness and fitness, I think, has been kind of the early adopters of wearable data. But even there's still opportunity to leverage that data a lot more to build great user experiences. So.
That's right. Tell me, because I this is something that, and maybe you can't answer because your clients are insurance companies and sort of large corporates. So if you feel that's too sensitive, don't answer. But for me, I'm a little worried about seeing the movement and large corporate and insurance companies starting to want to use wearables. And I do get this regular message from my insurance company saying, hey, you've got an Apple Watch. Why don't you install the app and let us track you everywhere you go? And I always kind of like, maybe it's the French in me or sort of revolutionary fiber. I'm always like, no, I'm not going to give you my location and give you all my data from my Apple Watch so you can tell me later that this is not covered or that's not covered or I'm too sedentary and then you want to increase my premium or something. So I kind of have a fear. What is your thinking around that?
Yeah, I can understand the fear to a certain degree. But I think generally speaking, the world is shifting further and further to interoperability, sharing data, being very transparent about the information. Because in the end, there is at the same time, obviously, a lot of benefits to have when we share the data. So I believe really like prediction, prevention, early detection is only possible if we're willing to share information. Now, I understand that, especially looking at the insurance space, which normally has kind of a negative connotation among most users, is there could be a misuse of the information. But then if we look at like the regulations that the insurance space is facing, be it on the health or life insurance space, etc., it's highly regulated of what data can be used and can't be used for underwriting process, for premium charge and risk profiling, etc. So I think it's more of an issue of the right policies are in place. And I think people should be willing to share the data because the benefit of being able to early detect, prevent, etc., is way bigger than the downside effects, because those we can mitigate or limit by the right policies and regulations in place. And then obviously on our end, we do take data privacy super serious. So
yeah, I know you do.
Compliant, GDPR compliant, etc. So
it's quite impressive, actually. I think, yes.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's just like framing it the right way and having the right regulations and privacies and policies in place is allowing to have the benefit and mitigate the misuse or like the false use of the information. Yeah.
Your business model is essentially B2B. You work with corporate like that to be able to help them process the data and then regurgitate back the insights. Is that the way to summarize it?
Yeah, that's correct. So we would embed our solution within the apps of our clients. So it's 100% B2B enterprise. Imagine, I don't know, a digital health app, which you normally would use to communicate with your clinician. Then somewhere in the onboarding process, you would basically sign up, you connect your device. So you're getting asked, hey, connect your favorite device, your Garmin, your Aura, or your Whoop. You connect that device with your normal login from Aura, etc. And then the data starts flowing. So now ROOK is able to pull that data for this digital health app. We help to extract the information, we harmonize, we standardize and normalize the data and provide the data back to this digital health app. And then in this way also to your clinician. And then they can provide you with better services around that data, which is now being able to be captured, collected, and analyzed.
I use all three. So I have a Whoop, I have a Oura Ring. I'm waiting for my One Ring.
Same here.
I'm waiting for my One Ring out of India. It hasn't arrived yet. And I have an Apple Watch, obviously. Sometimes the data doesn't agree between each devices. How do you manage that? I mean, data can be really tricky. There's a format. They all have their different algorithms. There's the raw data, but there's also the interpretation of that data, which is, as we know, something that comes out of an algorithm that's trained on a particular subset of data. And then we go into the data misery situation, which is biobanks or like white male, US-based, blah, blah, blah. Can't find the diversity, the gender variety, et cetera, et cetera. And so, how do you trust the model?
Yeah, I think there's probably two sides to that answer. First of all, accuracy. When we talk about accuracy, and that goes amongst all these different wearables, accuracy with wearable data is able due to the volume of data. So a wearable is not yet ready to, in one particular point of time, we don't get the most accurate data point. But by the volume we can create with the wearables, that's where accuracy is happening. So just by collecting a lot of data over a long time, you said that before, 24/7, we're collecting data from those wearables. And over the time and the accuracy is coming through the high volume of information that we have at hand. Now, when it comes to obviously the process of looking at, okay, how is the data different from Apple Watch to Garmin to Aura, etc.? We on our end do 4 stages. So, and it's something we have specialized on, going really deep with each integration. So we do harmonization, standardization, we deduplicate, and then we normalize the information. What does that mean?
Right.
Harmonization is we put the same labeling on the information. So one brand might call it active energy burn and the other one active calorie burn. So just labeling the information the same way, same timestamp system, etc. The second standardization for us is we calculate missing values. So sometimes we have data points available, but like another brand is offering us on top like a score or on top some other information and data points. But with the existing data, we can calculate those missing values on the other side. So we're trying to get as complete data sets from any of those brands and data sources. Then we deduplicate. That means, okay, if we have now several data sources connected, we would decide which one is the most accurate one. And today, there's a lot of statistics around which one is considered the most accurate on sleep and which one is the one considered most accurate on VO2 max, or etc. So basically, it's a decision tree that we follow to really give you just one data point for each metric. And then the last one, which is probably the most complex one, we go as far as we can when it comes to normalizing the data. So that's scaling the information in the same format, having one single definition of health so that we have one single score and not 3 or 4 different definitions of health. So we can now actually compare users no matter what hardware they're actually using. It goes a lot into the processing of the data to make that data actionable for our clients, basically.
That's fascinating. Do you allow people to actually integrate data from other sources than a wearable, like sort of medical reports or anything that's paper-based? Like, what do they say in the AI world? Multimodal?
Yeah, that's great. That's a great question. Yes and no. So today we are integrated mainly with wearables. We do have smart scales from Withings, for example. Yep. We have first glucose monitors from Dexcom, Freestyle Abbott, etc. And our vision is to basically follow this chain of next integrations and data sources that all point towards prevention and longevity. So we're very keen to integrate lab testing, so blood testing, biome testing, etc. Very keen to integrate DNA testing. There's so much information in our DNA that can be leveraged where we can early on prevent and work against certain kind of risk factors a person has, etc. And then we're looking at aggregating some more medical devices, but more traditional medical devices as well, around blood pressure, et cetera, et cetera. So trying to get a very complete picture of how
Whitethings has got that.
Yeah.
I've got a blood pressure monitor from Whitethings, so you can integrate all that already.
It's actually a French brand, I think, right?
Absolutely.
I'm not mistaken. So yeah.
Well, they went and they became Nokia for a while, and I don't know what happened to them now. A friend of mine used to work there, and it was a really, really interesting company. It's one of those that what happens to startups when founders not leave but change when it gets bought over, and then suddenly stagnates and flattens out, and then gets separated again and refloated is what happened to them, I think. But fascinating,
but a great
fascinating company. Yeah. I really like them. I have almost all their products. Okay. Maybe you can take us through your flagship sort of products and solution to give the viewers a better understanding now that we've kind of walked through that sort of general theme.
Yeah. I think I would like to share my screen actually here for this.
Yep, please do.
You should be able to see it, yeah. Just to give a better understanding. So as we said, right, it's an API SDK solution. That means our solution gets integrated into the apps of our clients. So where it says here demo app, just imagine your favorite fitness app, wellness app, or as we said, digital health app, right? And we would build into the app this kind of connections page. So we guide the user towards this page. This is where the user would connect their wearable device. In this example here, we establish this connection with the Garmin device. And now we have the permission from the end user to extract all information from that user. So we get all the information from sleep to recovery to physical activity data. And we can then harmonize and do all the processing with the data. And then it's actually our service talking to the service of our clients. So we're talking to the service of this digital health app, and we give them all the information of their user. So, hey, this user ID, here is all the sleep summary, the physical activity data we have, etc. And then it's our client, so the digital health app, that is deciding how to surface back the data to the end user. A lot of our clients show the data back in form of this health score that we've created. So correlation of sleep activity and readiness data. We know similar models from ROOK, from Aura, etc., right, that are correlating these kind of data points. Many build recommendations on top, show the progress on habit building, or maybe adjust the whole content experience. So yeah, that's kind of like the core product, really helping companies in those spaces from fitness, wellness to digital health become wearable agnostic, allowing the data to come in from their users. And then, helping them or facilitating that they can surface the data back to the end user on top of this, build great insights and recommendation.
That's really great. A very fascinating field. I mean, I have one question as one of the probably things that I regret a little bit with all the wearables that are out there today, and they're getting better. So, but I've seen from the early ones to where we are now, it's always a little bit, I call it death by dashboard. How do you avoid, not being just another dashboard?
Yeah, I think that's kind of where very aligned to our company vision. So right now, what we solve is basically an access play to the data, right? Right now, we mainly solve for giving access to harmonize and streamline data from any of the devices out there, because there is no standard protocol of communication for wearables existing today. Hopefully, at one point in the future, this will exist. And the company vision is really going towards becoming a data science company. So really focusing on the insights and recommendations that we can provide. We have started to play around, and that's mainly with strategic partners in the space around social value factors. So all the incentives we are setting to help people maintain healthy habits or create healthy habits, what impact does that has in terms of a social return? Like how much are medical care costs reduced by doing so? We have a first prevention score that we can provide to B2B clients, which helps to understand preventing that someone is dropping a healthy habit, or at what risk is that person to drop a certain kind of healthy habit. We can look at biological age of the people based on wearable data. So there's a lot of really interesting insights we can start collecting right now that help us to be more actionable, like really like taking that as a step further, and then having this interception, having this the clinician be able to reach out to prevent, to shift and push
Talking-
the patient and client.
Talking about biological age, I'm always obviously familiar with telehealth. Although they are not available here in New Zealand, but I've been at South by Southwest, and I watched a keynote. Fascinating. I think David Sinclair is behind that, right? The longevity expert. So interesting. But there's also an app that came out. Don't know if you're familiar with some project called Humanity. There's an app also that kind of calculates your theoretical biological age out of wearable data aggregation. So it's a really moving field. So I think this endeavor wanting to do that is quite a good idea, because then you are converting data into a sort of metric that can be used directly, not a dashboard per se, but something that actually educates you and tells you how well you're doing, or how badly you're doing in the other case, and potentially motivates you to do something about it, which is a very interesting field of behavioral psychology applied to health. What about AI and sort of AI integration? We've seen massive advances. I mean, people talk about AI. There's so many flavors of AI, machine learning or LLMs and etc. So, what about those advances and this natural language, sort of progresses that we've seen with transformer models and all of that? So, how do you guys view these advances, and are you using any of those? Obviously, you're using machine learning, but are you using any other advances? Are you going all the way down to a chatbot, or what's without revealing trade secrets or anything that's too sensitive?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to share a bit more. So like machine learning, we have obviously been using a while already. That's been fundamental piece for the processing of the data. The piece on AI. So generally for us, it is obviously a huge opportunity, like for every company, I think. What we've seen just recently is the AI bot that Whoop integrated, for example, right? So Whoop, the wearable provider, is allowing you now to chat with like this AI bot, and is helping you to understand your biomarkers and really define what's next, right? Like what should I do? What shouldn't I do? What's my to-do list for the day, etc. So we have seen first clients now that we have been working with that do similar concepts. So we're leveraging the biomarker data that we collect and feed it into AI models that then help to create those to-do lists or the things you should avoid today based on the last few days of biomarkers that we collected. Generally speaking, we believe, again, it goes for us in the same direction as the whole company vision of prevention prediction. So every AI model that we currently train in-house on our end is really focused on that prevention prediction piece. And then we've seen, but that's obviously more in collaboration with different clients based on their use cases. We have seen the chatbot, we have seen mini small interventions that are AI based. So like we see certain kind of peaks in the biomarker data, and it sends us a small alert, push notification in the app or things like this, which is basically triggered through an AI learning mechanism that's getting better and better and sending out the right alerts in the right moment. But that's very use case based and in collaboration with our partners.
Great. Now, something that I've been playing myself on our end, and we have some plan, although we haven't started working on that particular piece, but we have some plans to use. LLMs actually are very interesting to input multimodal data. So, you want to feed, test results from a lab or whatever, and have that put into the right boxes into a database, or and that is converting natural language into data. That's something that LLMs are super good at. So that's really helpful in terms of bringing different formats or images or X-ray images or something like that, and their interpretation report next to it.
That's great.
Recently done a full checkup of my old self, and so my probably against all data privacy flags, I have given all of that to ChatGPT and had it all kind of transferred and interpreted.
I do the same.
So I totally know that that's just wrong, but I wanted to see. And I'm now working on seeing how we can install a Llama 2 sort of model on a local server, so we can actually feed it stuff without having to inform the whole world about the privacy data stuff. But that's really amazing progresses, and it's fascinating times. I think that AI will be able to detect things in our biomarkers and help us make sense of all of this. So I mean, obviously, Rook and the work you do kind of sits at the sort of intersection, and some people say you work with them, or you kind of compete with Apple Health and Android Fitness or Google Fit. How do you see the positioning of different models, and how do you avoid, I guess, them swallowing you, or is that your exit strategy?
No, it's not really our exit strategy, but
good.
No, yeah, great question. I mean, as we said before, right now, unfortunately, there's no standard protocol of communication when it comes to wearable data. We have seen a shift towards this in the more medical device space, with FHIR being like the standard protocol for communication, how the database is created, which actually is our underlying principles that we use as well for how we structure and work with the wearable data. But right now, even with those aggregators such as Apple Health and then Health Connect, which is actually the new tool that's going to replace Google Fit on the Android side, those health kits are still very limited today. So right now, there is a need for this aggregation play that we are doing. Hopefully in the future, not, as I said before, right? Like, and the company vision that we have is definitely going to become this data science company. If then there is a standard protocol existing and those kits do a better job of aggregating all the data in a great format, then we might not be able to do this aggregation play anymore, but that's fine, because we see the value somewhere totally different, which is what do we do with the data, not how to aggregate the data. Today, it's just a necessary kind of piece that we need to solve first for our second step, basically. And I can dive a bit deeper right now, like shortcomings of those kits. You can layer this probably in basically 3 levels. So one is data is incomplete. So what the amount of data or biomarkers that Health Connect is capturing is different to the ones of Apple Health. We don't have the same metric that we normally use to get from Garmin, Aura, Whoop, etc. directly. That's one issue. A second issue is the data is it's a passive integration. So, for example, Google is not integrating Whoop or Aura. It's Aura who has to integrate into Google Fit, into Apple Health, right? So that's what I mean with passive integration. Whoop, for example, is not integrated into Google Fit today. So all the Google Fit users that are Whoop users at the same time, any third party would miss out on that data. That's another issue. And then we can go even deeper into, we only get summaries, averages, mediums. Like there's often a little bit more granularity missing. We have capabilities to do real-time heart rate and calorie and step counting as well, etc. These kind of things are just falling a little behind and short with those health kits and health aggregators today. But yeah, as I said, hopefully at one point.
Yeah, I've noticed that myself. I tried to bring Aura and Whoop and all these different sleep measurements into Apple Health. And, you got all this menu where you can click your sources and sort of activate or deactivate sources. And then you look at the result to see if there's any difference. And then when you deactivate stuff, there's some sort of discrepancies that are quite obvious. And you're like, well, no, that doesn't work. So you kind of have to choose one source, and that's about it. It's very hard to activate more than one source and have a good result. Is my personal experience.
The duplicity, we're talking time zones. There's so many small things that maybe from the outside often we don't see. But if we really have a digital health medical setting, or if we really have, where we need very accurate data, it's not complete and accurate enough.
So you've said something really interesting, which is you see yourself as a data scientist company, not an aggregator. So, and then you are doing this right now because it's a necessary evil that you need to solve, because you can't go to the next level if you don't solve this. I kind of really like that, because that's like, 5 years from now, what are you going to be doing? What's the overall big vision there? If I had to, so you said data scientist, that kind of answers it, but maybe there's more in terms of improving users' health and wellness, and how do you make sure that you're going to make a difference?
Yeah. Yeah, I think right now we're literally paving the way for what we envision in the future. So as I said, the aggregation play is literally just a necessary step. The big vision is becoming really a data science company. We don't want to monetize on aggregation of data. We would love to give away our API for free and have everyone aggregate information and build really great use cases around that information. And then with privacy of data in mind, analyzing and really leveraging that data on a higher level. So really using that data to find those benchmarks, to find those mechanisms that help us detect and prevent, and leveraging that in a format where we can, in the best case, if I can dream for a second, leverage that with government and like really on the highest level where we can have an impact of leveraging those insights on a society basis, nationwide, globally with the people, and not just like right now we're solving for data aggregation plays with one single company at a time, right? But we would love to see this at a bigger scale, working with governments on understanding those patterns in behavior health. I think that's where we can have the real impact, right? Like where we can really make a change. I think there's obviously many private entities and players in the space. Yeah, really like going towards policy and how we can, using policy, using the whole system, how it's laid out. And I know it's very different between the US, New Zealand, and then Europe. If we look at health insurance and health insurance policies and how this is managed, but really making sure that prevention and early detection is where we have most of the CPT codes and payers being able to provide that basically claims can be sent to payers for those things. And that comes from policy, and that comes from a whole mindset shift where we put the prevention and prediction as the centerpiece and not focusing on directive medicine 2.0, what we're currently seeing and living. That's why we believe we need to scale it even to government and policy changes with the insights and predictions that we can find in the data at a bigger scale. That's when I can dream for a second.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. I tend to not include government in my thinking every time because I just somewhere don't have a massive trust that there actually can be big changes. But healthcare is a big cost, so and a big burden on governments.
Yeah.
So there is, if I had to choose between an insurance company and a government in terms of contributing to the cost of healthcare, I think a government is probably the right door. Somehow, I think the insurance company model is more about de-risking their economics or making sure you're a good cash cow for longer, so you can pay your bills for longer. That's not me. But governments, yes, it's about the well-being of citizens, and I guess you could be a taxpayer for longer too. That's really cool. So in terms of partnerships and collaborations, you guys work with B2B and government agencies, etc. So what's on the radar and what have you got running already in that space?
Yeah, I mean, we have interesting partnerships on both sides, just strategic partners, and that's a great transition from the previous question. So one I can reference here is For Global, a public company based in the UK out of London. They work, for example, with government. So they help in city planning, etc., based on physical activity data. So they collect all the physical activity data from gym operators, etc., and leverage that data to analyze where it makes sense to make certain kind of investments from a government standpoint into the field of physical activity, wellness, well-being. So that's kind of, I think, maybe a little bit also our maybe a reference why we believe we can get to those levels and really work with government and make a real impact. So that's a strategic partner we work with where our data helps to define this social value factor that I mentioned previously, which is kind of models they have created and they are populating with their information in the physical activity space. And when we look more so on partners in terms of actual clients of ours that we work with, so we started off in the fitness tech space, as I mentioned before. So that's where we have most of our clients, ranging from fitness at home apps, on-demand apps where we can work out at home, be it in live sessions or be it on demand with content that we can stream. And And then we have some companies more so in the endurance sports field, as well as when it comes to meditation, mindfulness, where wearable data is becoming more and more important. And then, kind of like, since we have shifted a bit the gears because we have seen the strongest use cases in digital health and in the insurance tech space, we are working with companies that are focused on chronic disease management, remote patient monitoring, and interoperability in terms of data aggregation and data management. So there we have also the aggregation of electronic health records and other data sources together with wearable data that then again feed into similar use cases around prevention prediction in remote patient monitoring, chronic disease space. And then one of the very exciting partnerships that just went live was with Augmented Health Solutions.
Okay.
They are sitting in the intersection of corporate wellness with insurance tech and certain kind of digital health offerings. Basically, they're providing a wellness program to employers and their employees, and the employees can earn discounts, rewards. So the whole experience is gamified when those employees maintain healthy habits. Those healthy habits are tracked via wearable data. That's how ROOK fits into this equation. And this goes then even that far that this has an impact on reduced rates when it comes to the health policy plan, etc. So very interesting use case. I'm super excited to, we just went live with them actually, I think last month.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Very good. Congratulations on that.
Use case. Thanks
So
much.
what would you say are the biggest challenges that you face today in this industry, and how do you address them?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of challenges as always, right? Like, I mean, the startup journey, you know that better than me probably, but
I'm not funded yet. You are funded.
Yeah. So, I mean, fundraising in the last 2 years has been super difficult. If we want to look at it from a startup perspective, that's a big challenge, obviously. We were fortunate enough to get backed by really great investors earlier this year, which was our second funding round. So on that front, even though it was painful and challenging, we got the next milestone done on that front. When we look a little bit more on the technical, on the product side on our end, it's a continuous exchange with third parties of aggregating, integrating data, right? So Apple Health is changing something. There comes a new Apple Watch to market. Garmin is doing changes to their APIs. We have continuous work to do on maintaining those integrations, which is one of the pain points and core value props that we currently have to our client, right? We take care of all the maintenance. You just take care of one single integration, which is the one of ROOK, and we deal with all of the rest, right? I think that's a huge challenge. And then if we look a bit more towards the market, so health and insurance space, highly regulated, right? So finding the right ways to work with the data, and then especially in the US, which is our core market, the healthcare system or the healthcare space is very fragmented. It's huge, long value chains of different players working with the data that we can provide. So really finding the right entry points, understanding who needs to have the data in which kind of format, and how do we need to work this so that we can actually make an impact here. It's tricky sometimes. And then we go to Europe, and then we go to New Zealand, and it's changing completely, right? There's different incentives, there's different
Rules.
Yeah, CPT codes, rules, regulations. So it's tricky on that front. It's not an easy product, even though it's a technology project that travels easily, like to different locations and countries. I think that's kind of like a good overview of the continuous challenges that we face here at ROOK.
So on a sort of personal notes, what how do you see new development and innovations from ROOK? What's coming next on your end?
Yeah, so on the shorter kind of roadmap, glucose monitors.
Wow.
We have found more and more use cases
Abbott.
on, Abbott Freestyle, Dexcom, that's the kind of names coming to mind. And then Abbott sits behind, for example, Level, Super Sapien, and other kind of very popular brands. So that's very close. We're looking at nutrition data. And as I said, we're looking at lab testing and DNA testing. So that's kind of like the next data sources we want to aggregate. We're very keen to also add a fourth pillar. So right now we segment all the data into sleep health, body health, and physical activity or physical health. Mm-hmm. And we would love to get into the emotional and mental health space as another data pillar, because in the end, and you have read Outlives by Peter as well. So it's great to focus on longevity, health span, lifespan, but it's not worth anything if the emotional and mental health side is not given. So And wearables are starting to collect more data as well. Voice recognition to understand your mood, stress levels. I'm using here the Now Watch, which is measuring via the sweat on the skin, stress levels. Aura and Whoop just launched features around stress monitoring. So we're getting more tangible data for that pillar as well, which is very exciting for us. And that's something on the roadmap to be added soon.
Very interesting. What's that stress monitor called again?
No watch, now watch.
No
Like,
watch.
not a watch. No watch. Or now watch.
How many wrists do you need to have? Because I've run out of wrists.
I don't have enough, let's say. Yeah,
So my Whoop is attached to my ankle, just so you know, and it doesn't work too badly. So, I kind of leverage the fact that I am running out of wrists, and so that's really cool. No watch. I definitely will check this out. But yeah, I on our end, you had mentioned the 4 pillars. We are working with 3, and we're really physical activity, mindset or mind health, and nutrition. So it's really I find it, I don't know, separating sleep health and body health. It's kind of the same to me, but maybe because you can get more granularity into that and feedback, direct sort of recommendations. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, I think there's obviously always different ways you can segment and structure the data. Body health, for example, would be for us everything around body composition, lean muscle mass, fat percentage, water percentage, etc.
DEXA scan,
sleep and recovery. Yeah, exactly. Or like embody scan, or like we have even more digital solutions now. Spren just brought to market like the computer vision piece where you can scan your body via the phone camera and you get a body composition analysis. So there's a lot of great things happening on that front as well. That's why we kind of have that separate from the sleep and recovery field, which in itself, I mean, all these pillars in itself, you know that, right? It's like huge spaces where you can have many metrics and insights for each of them. So yeah,
it's I mean, and I don't know the product you mentioned, and I don't know how accurate it is, but I can imagine, scan your body with your phone and get an accurate sort of composition. It's. I mean, we do this in our solution to create avatars, digital avatars of your own self. It only works when you correlate this to an AI model that has actually scanned thousands of people and knows how much with a proper DEXA scan in the back end. So you actually know, and then you can correlate the outside sort of envelope to what the inside should be. But it's still not a scan of the inside. So you're going to have to go there and say it's 93% accurate as to our AI model. So fascinating
I think the
field.
tricky part is the outlayers, right? The outlayers is the very difficult. The ones that are bodybuilding and have
8% body fat, but really big.
Exactly.
I mean,
these outlayers is, I think, difficult to detect still via computer vision and then an AI model layered on top.
I mean, Myo, the electricity sensing, on your Withing scale, for example, is a closer correlation of body composition, but nothing replaces a DEXA scan. In the end, I'm looking to get one done soon. Keen to see how much what's it called? Intra that brown layered fat.
The visceral fat.
Visceral fat. That's the word I was looking for.
Well, I don't know. Maybe there's a difference between the brown fat and the visceral fat. I think visceral fat is the one around the organs. I'm not sure if that's exactly.
I think you're right.
The same as the brown
visceral
fat. But
visceral fat is the right word. Cool. So your journey with ROOK, how did that impact your vision of technology and wellness?
I'm personally speaking a lot more aware of the aspect of longevity, health span, and lifespan. That's been, for me personally, a very interesting, exciting journey. Myself having a lot of trouble with the sleep and recovery side. I was writing a little bit about it previous, did a sleep laboratory recently, and really trying to figure out how I can improve on that front. physical activity, I'm holding up all right. Doing a lot of running and doing also, so getting all my zone 2 work in, and as well
Excellent.
doing strength training. And so just on that side, I think I'm good, well balanced, but like on the sleep recovery, that's where I need to really work. And so I think just the journey with Rook has shown me a lot. Like there's a lot of opportunity in that space still, that we are just barely scratching the surface with the technology we have in place. And there's so much more that we can do. And obviously the overlapping merge of fitness wellness with the digital health space is just super exciting for me, because that's where finally we see and recognize the importance of fitness and wellness to overall health and prevention for everyone. And I think that's the way we have to really push this forward. So very excited to see those industries merge further and further.
I think that's the frontier. It's really when we can merge completely the digital fitness and wellness space with healthcare, which is today still sick care, in my opinion. But that we can have a ground wave, sort of try to shift this. I really personally see this, the work you guys do and other companies in the space, as that ground wave that's starting from the user bottom up and really changing the approach around, getting to know thyself, sort of thing, and how to change your behavior and achieve longevity, which for me is adding years to your life, or life to your years, but not life to your years and not years to your life. That's the one I wanted to say. So it's a fascinating space. Thank you for answering all these questions and telling us a bit more about what you guys are working on. It's been a really exciting sort of 50-minute already. Any closing thoughts or messages or things you'd like to add to this conversation or leave the audience with?
I mean, generally speaking, thanks to you for having me, for sure. I think that's what it's really about. So aligned to this merging of industries, it's like collaboration. It's working together, hand in hand, bringing companies together, bringing founders and entrepreneurs together that have the same mindset of where this needs to go. So that's what I'm most excited about for the next few months and years to come. And it's great to see, great founders like you coming to market and building exciting projects and products and solutions for that space. So I think, that's kind of my final last words. Hell yes to collaboration, and I hope, and I'm very sure this podcast will help a lot in bringing more of these people together and build great collaboration.
Hope so, and we really just want to foster that community build and try to get people, even if we sometimes our projects may overlap. I think in some places, not everywhere, and nobody probably has. Certainly don't think that I have the answer to everything. So that's a good way to start. I think by getting everyone together, we will crack the code. So that's the approach. I think that's and I think I'd like to see more collaboration in that space and more companies working sort of bottom up to crack the health code. Thanks a lot for being with us. We really enjoyed this. And good luck with everything you guys are doing. I really enjoy watching you grow. Thanks a lot, Jonas.
That's awesome. Thanks for having me. And let's see where we meet again in person. If it's New Zealand, Munich?
Well, if you do, don't hesitate. I am right here.
That's awesome. Thanks so much.
Take care.